Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Now, if there's one thing that brings on a nearly universal, totally overwhelming wave of stress for high schoolers, it's college application season. You know the exact feeling. You sit down late at night, surrounded by a mountain of college brochures, just staring at the flashing cursor on a completely blank page. It's the essay nobody wants to write. You're exhausted, the deadlines are looming, and the pressure is just absolutely immense. And sitting right there, staring down that blinking cursor, pretty much every single applicant has the exact same forbidden thought pop into their head. What if I just let AI write it? We kind of whisper it to ourselves, right? Most people won't admit to it, or they do it a little bit and feel incredibly guilty, or they do it and then spend the next month terrified someone's going to find out. Nobody really talks about it honestly. So today, we're running a hands-on, slightly risky experiment to find out the absolute truth about what actually happens when you let AI take the wheel.
Because, look, the college essay is deeply personal, and the stakes here are massive. You're basically tasked with capturing your entire authentic self in, 500 words? You have to make it memorable, make it specific, all while keeping your grades up and applying to a dozen different places at once. Okay, let's dive into this and see exactly how AI handles this uniquely human pressure cooker.
Let's start with the experiment parameters.
To get some actual real-world answers, we systematically put ChatGPT and Claude through their paces across every single stage of the writing process. We threw 3 distinct prompts at them that you will inevitably face: the big 650-word Common App main essay, the 300-word Why This School targeted prompt, and finally that quick 150-word extracurricular short answer. 3 totally different lengths, 3 entirely different goals. Let's see how the machines actually did.
Which brings us to stage 1. Breaking the brainstorming trap.
You know, coming up with that perfect topic is usually where people get completely stuck for weeks. But here's the thing. AI is actually uncontroversially brilliant at curing writer's block if you give it the right prompt. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the exact prompt we used with Claude. We explicitly told it, hey, don't suggest typical topics like sports or volunteering. Instead, we asked it to ask us 5 questions about specific moments, small habits, or unexpected interests that most people wouldn't even think to write about. We basically forced the AI to interview the student.
And wow, the results were fantastic. Claude didn't just ask for a boring resume, it asked these really probing, unexpected questions. It wanted to know about a time the student completely changed their mind about a deeply held belief. It asked about unnoticed nervous habits, or things the student finds genuinely funny that other people just don't get. These highly specific questions successfully pulled out really original, memorable essay angles, like a super specific habit of rewriting notes 3 times to build understanding, instead of just giving us a generic list of achievements. So stage 1, a massive success. But then we hit stage 2, the drafting disaster.
All right, now we are entering the danger zone. What happens if you take those awesome brainstormed ideas and literally just let AI write the very first draft completely from scratch? We gave the AI a highly detailed prompt based on our brainstorming session. We explicitly commanded it to feel personal, specific, and authentic. We literally begged it, please sound like a genuine high school senior, not an AI. But man, despite giving it every possible advantage, the output was deeply, deeply flawed.
When you look at the 2 models side by side, their failures are actually kind of funny, just in completely different ways. ChatGPT, it gave us an essay that was technically fine. The grammar was absolutely perfect, the structure was perfectly logical, but it was completely soulless. It read like a student who had surgically removed their entire personality just to sound impressive. And then there's Claude. Claude definitely had a warmer, more conversational tone, but it had one huge problem. It just completely invented a fictional story. The details, the moments, the voice, none of it was real.
Moving on to stage 3, 3 honest problems. So the crucial point is figuring out exactly why these AI-generated drafts fundamentally fail out there in the real world.
Relying on AI to draft your essay creates 3 massive roadblocks for college admissions. First off, it just sounds like AI. The transitions are way too smooth, the structure is too perfectly clean, there's zero genuine human roughness or risk-taking in the writing. Second, it's just not your story. AI totally lacks true sensory details, what the room actually smelled like, or the exact awkward phrasing someone used, the stuff that makes an essay feel lived in. Admissions officers read thousands of these things. They have a very strong sixth sense and can instantly spot an artificial narrative that lacks real sensory grounding. And third, well, this third problem is so important we need to really single it out.
AI completely and utterly fails the read aloud test. Basically, every admissions officer ever will tell you to read your essay out loud. If it sounds like a formal document instead of an actual real 18-year-old talking, it's a dud. AI writes really well-constructed documents. It absolutely does not speak like an 18-year-old human. If you send in an AI essay, you are sending a version of yourself that simply isn't you. You're trying to build your college future on a foundation that doesn't actually exist.
Okay, let's fix this. Stage 4, the right way to edit.
Now, don't write off AI entirely just yet. The absolute secret to using it the right way is this. You've got to write a messy, terrible, rough first draft entirely by yourself. Only then do you bring AI in strictly as your editor. If AI writes the essay for you, that leads to a totally hollow application. And this brilliantly illustrates the exact relationship you need to have. AI making your raw, messy writing significantly better. That is the sweet spot. Let's look at 3 specific ways to do exactly that.
First up is the opening check. You take just your opening paragraph, paste it into the AI, and use this exact prompt. You're basically asking it for brutal honesty on what is and isn't working and requesting a couple of alternative opening sentences to try out. This forces the AI to look at your hook and give you highly specific, actionable tweaks to make your own writing pop right out of the gate. Next up, throw your full draft in for the authenticity check. This is where you command the AI to hunt down any sentences that sound generic, overly formal, or like literally any student could have written them. By asking it to tell you what specific details or personal voice elements are missing, the AI acts like a tough old-school editor. It's going to flag the boring parts and demand that you fill in those lived details that only you possess.
And finally, we automate that crucial human test we talked about earlier with the read aloud simulation. You just ask the AI, hey, does this actually sound like a real 18-year-old talking? Flag any sentences that feel stiff or unnatural. You remind it that the goal is to sound like you're speaking, not drafting a formal contract. By keeping your unique voice front and center, the AI stays in its lane as the editor, and you remain the irreplaceable author.
Let's move to and see how this builds to our final verdict.
All right, we walked through the dread of the blank page, the tempting AI shortcut, the absolute hollow disaster of an AI-generated draft, and finally, the actual superpower of using AI as a targeted editor. So what's the verdict? Honestly, it's fascinating. Trying to take a totally soulless AI draft and extensively rewrite it to cram your personality back into it, that literally takes way more time than just starting from scratch. And it still feels hollow. The time you think you're saving is totally lost. But taking your own raw, imperfect draft and editing it with AI, that yields the absolute best result. You maintain your authentic voice while sharpening the delivery.
So if you are deep in the trenches of application season right now, here is your rock-solid, definitive 3-step process. Step 1, brainstorm with AI to find those weird, unexpected angles. Step 2, write the rough draft yourself, even if it's a total mess and takes you hours. And Step 3, edit with AI to scrub out the generic stuff and elevate your natural voice. This process puts the technology exactly where it's helpful and leaves you exactly where you belong.
Because look, the college essay is basically the one spot on your entire application where you actually get to be a full, living, breathing human being rather than just a GPA and a list of clubs. So I'm going to leave you with this to chew on. Are you truly willing to risk your authentic voice for a clean but totally hollow shortcut? Or is there a messy, beautiful, uniquely human part of your true story that an AI could just never, ever invent? Embrace your voice, guys. Good luck with those applications, and we will see you in the next explainer.